What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we'll be taking a look over here at the altcoin market. I've got the altcoin market cap pulled up in front of us. Of course, we'll tie that into Bitcoin and the Bitcoin dominance, but the primary focus of this is going to be the altcoin market. We just closed out July. It's now August 1st. We had another weekly candle close that happened yesterday. We've now had 4 consecutive green weeks here in the altcoin market, so we'll take a closer peek at the entire structure of what's been happening in here after 11 consecutive red weeks, now 4 consecutive green weeks. Can we draw anything from this, any conclusions from this? Well, let's take a closer peek. As we all know, back in June, it bounced right there on the 200-week moving average here for the altcoin market. Structurally, as we were looking at this last week on where the altcoin market got back to, it's kind of back right here underneath where the breakdown level happened here. It was kind of a supportive region for us back in 2021, back in May, June, and July. Then when we had that break and when we had the Celsius, halting, withdrawing, we're back there. We're back at the levels where the prices broke down from. But it's also been a little while since we've taken a peek over here at this structure. What we kind of know about the depths of how far this thing has fallen is if you were to put like a head and shoulders breakdown that happened here for the altcoin market. So here would be your left shoulder, here would be your head, then in comes your right shoulder, and then you get your breakdown in here, and then this is the back test of the neckline. The way you measure the depth of how far a measured move is on a head and shoulders breakdown is to measure the length of the head to the neckline. So if we take a peek at how deep we've gone here on the altcoin market, we can see, well, hey, we've reached the depths necessary for a full measured move to take place in here. We can also see that over here on Total 3, which is going to be the altcoin market that excludes Ethereum in there to see, hey, it as well has gone down deep enough for a full measured move after back testing the neckline. But have we ever seen this structure before, and what happens at this moment in time? And I think the important thing to look back to is to say, hey, well, we know that we're back at the all-time high from back in 2018. This is where we have found our support at here. It's also the first major correction coming out of the altcoin market during the entire bull run that we've had after breaking through the all-time high. When we look to Bitcoin back in 2013 through 2017, once it broke through the all-time high in here, you ended up having your first major correction. We've taken a peek at this before on a closer scale to see what does the structure look like in comparison to what we've been doing over here currently right now. And we know for Bitcoin in that time period during that correction, we had like a parabolic rise followed by like an immediate crash down, which is the same thing that we saw happen here on the altcoin market, followed by barely setting a new all-time high, followed by barely setting a new all-time high, and then off into long consolidation, finally followed by capitulation. And then that's similar to what we've seen happening here right now. Also similar to what we saw happen to Ethereum back in 2017 after barely setting a new high. Same thing, barely setting a new high, long-term consolidation, followed by just a capitulative ending. So the question comes on whether or not that's actually the ending of all of this, or if this is a much longer and much bigger prolonged bear market on its way. Now, if you ask most retail investors, they'll tell you it's not the end. I saw a poll done by Roll Paul over on Twitter. 72% of respondents replied saying that they think it's going to go down deeper, not just crypto, but all markets. But we've peeked here at this to show the structure of what has happened in here for the Bitcoin price chart has mirrored that of what a capitulative ending has already done. So what would it mean? Capitulation. What is the definition of capitulation? Is where everybody throws in the towel. The vast majority have thrown in the towel at this point. And we've seen very similarities of things that have happened here for capitulations to wrap themselves up. Kind of break that thing down here a little bit to look at Bitcoin to see that even along the way, all of these pit stops that happened in here, even this ABC structure happening in here for Bitcoin during this time period in here, your final little holdout right here, followed by the final plunge that comes in here. So structurally, we have something similar to a capitulation already occurring. And the same thing goes for a full completed corrective structure here on the altcoin market as well. Now we'll zoom in a little bit closer in here. I'll take some of this off the screen. Back in May, when we were talking about this happening in here, we're talking about, hey, usually when we're having capitulations come in here, you have something called your shorts closing. So it's the bottom that everybody thinks is the bottom, but then it turns out to not be. It ends up being the shorts closing out, and then you have one more bottom, and then that's it. We talked about how that occurred back here in Bitcoin back in 2017, and that each time you have capitulation, you have what looks to be like the actual bottom. People are convinced of it. Then it goes on and it sets a new low. But it's actually just kind of the final shorts closing in here before you can build some type of divergence to emerge or get into extreme oversold conditions. Many viewers who watch this channel should be familiar with XRP from back when the SEC lawsuit took place. As you could see, right? We get something that appears to be the bottom. And then what does it do? It has one more final push. And then it's able to work its way back up, take some time, but then it's able to start marching its way up slowly and then get its way out of there. But you have what appears to be the bottom. It's not, goes on, sets a new low. And you see these types of things happen all the time. I remember back in here, for those who remember the 22.5 cent days, this one down in here, people are like, why are you waiting any longer? Why are you still waiting for 22.5 cents? We're at 23 cents. Why are you waiting for 22.5? It's because there just becomes that one more that ends up coming in there. And this is very typical to happen in extreme sell-offs, that we see things like this emerge. Here's a good example of it right here as well, right? So you have what appears to be your bottom, one more push, just like we have happening here. Slowly but surely, then it works its way back out in here. And you kind of take a look at that, of what that looks like right in here right now. Where are you, right? You're still just kind of working out these areas in here. And sideways could be in the cards if that's the thing, before it just kind of goes into a retrace. And that's very possible, right? That the altcoin market just does something of a retrace back up in here. It doesn't go surging on to, multi-trillion dollars, but that a retrace comes in here. And that's something I'll be kind of cognizant of as we're moving forward in here, is that we can kind of look at how this played out in here and the structure that played out to see where these things happened in here, right? And then we kind of had this, before you move into capitulation, we had it all happening here too, right? So really just kind of a sloppy grind back up, working into a retracement, sloppy grind back into a retracement. That would make logical sense too. And of course, there's always a chance that, hey, we look back to what happened back in 2017. There was a long, prolonged period of pausing out in here. Just, if we start right here, you say it's from March all the way until December, or if you even want to say, hey, after this breakout, it's from May all the way till December. So you can say it's anywhere from 7 to 9 months happening in here. We're at a little bit over a year working out in here, back testing this all-time high like we did back in 2017, 2016. And that it's not uncommon for there to be this long period in here before eventually breaking off and going. And while structurally slightly different in here from price levels and everything, it's the same kind of thing happening in here, right? What is it? It's a parabolic rise followed by a fall, then setting a new high, and then capitulation in here. New assets got added to the market at this time. It impacted the market cap. But this exact period is also the exact same time we were looking at Ethereum too. So not uncommon for something like this to happen here back at an all-time high. So is it setting up for a much bigger move at the exact same time? I think a lot of those answers kind of get told on whether or not it can get through this particular price level right in here. If it gets through that particular price level right in there, well, we know this is like resistance ahead, right? This is like the breakdown level. You get through the breakdown level, then you start questioning, okay, now it's no longer about, hey, boom, rejection off of that and boom, off and into, what do they call it, Goblin Town, right? But then you start questioning, all right, is this a retrace that eventually rolls over, or are we pulling off what was just the biggest back test in history and consolidation atop of the all-time high for the market to continue marching up further? I think a lot of those answers get kind of told here on if we can get through here, at least the first one. The first one is, are we in a crashing market? I think that gets kind of dictated by if we can get through these levels. If you can get through these levels, and what you keep seeing over and over again is that they get through it and then they march their way up even higher, at least into right here, which for the altcoin market, it's right there around $1 trillion. So get through these price levels right in here. It looks like it buys you a ticket to $1 trillion, speculatively. Then all the questions come in on retracement levels, third range boundaries, and even looking back at Bitcoin, looking back at Ethereum. Even once you got back in here, the story could take some time to be foretold, even if it is going to go marching off into higher prices, because we see ABCs show up here all the time too. So you could just pause out here for a significant period of time before a march up could continue happening. But right now, with the price level that the altcoin market at market cap is at currently is at a storytelling price. But it sure seems to me, right, not financial advisor, not investment advice, it sure seems to me that the bottom is actually in here, at least for this move. I don't know if it's going to pull its way up here and then turn over. I'm going to be treating the market as if it will do that. So when we get back up into these price levels up in here, I will be taking profits on the market. But it sure seems to me this was the bottom, that this was the shorts closing. This was the final capitulation. We'll march our way back up in here. It could be ugly. It could be sloppy before it eventually starts getting more parabolic. And that's where most of the people, the 72% of people who think that it's going down lower, will capitulate back into the market, because that's just what people do. All this could be proven to be incredibly dumb and not true if the prices do end up rejecting from right in here. But we can see that typically you do have a little bit of stress happening in here in the market, and it's difficult for it to get through. But we've already seen some reversals coming in the market in here, like Ethereum Classic, which has already taken all of that back, right? So here we are. Ethereum Classic's already marched its way all the way back up in here. So we're already back up in these April prices. We've seen Uniswap go ahead and take out that price level, right? All of this right in here is right in here. We've seen Uniswap already working its way back up. You've seen Matic already take it all out right in here. And we've seen Numeraire take this out as well, right back in here. So you can see Numeraire, it comes into some resistance right at these levels, right up in here, right back at the highs set back in March and February. All these price levels right here ended up being resistance for it. So good eyes to keep on this to see, hey, are we seeing consistent resistance showing up throughout the market for the altcoins for that? But I also noticed one other coin in here that looked eerily similar too. It's a coin over here on Coinbase. I don't own it. It's banned protocol. I own none of this. But when I saw this structure, I was like, man, I have seen that exact same structure before. And we see a lot of this throughout the crypto market, and that this has been how the endings have happened in here for this market, with this capitulative ending happening in here. But I was like, I know exactly where I've seen that before. And I'll put it on the screen to say, yeah, that's exactly what I have seen happen exactly before. And that was the actual bottom for it. And this was Ethereum Classic from back in 2017 through 2018. So doesn't necessarily mean that this thing is ready to go off into a surging run in here for banned protocol. But the entire play out of how this has all happened here on banned protocol, unbelievably similar and pretty much an identical match. So we have confluence in the market of what has happened when completed crashes have happened in altcoins, including these consolidations back here at the all-time highs like we've been having for the market cap, along with a perfect bounce there on the 200-week moving average. Now, 200-week moving average hasn't historically been a big thing for the altcoin market throughout history, but we know for Bitcoin, that was a big thing throughout history, finding support there on top of that thing. So an interesting confluence to see in there, while at the same time showing the shorts closing, the final capitulation happening in here. And now the big resistance test, the big question on if we can get through right in there. If we get through right in here, I'll pretty much have the bull horns on in full effect to say that I think we're going to at least $1 trillion over here on the altcoin market cap. Right now, I still have my cautions on because I'm like, hey, look, this is the thing that we broke down from. But any push above here and a close above here, it's more than welcome to consolidate in here as long as it needs to. But merely getting through there and closing above there says, hey, these candle closes in here are not providing a resistance, and that each time we see this type of setup, it gets to at least $1 trillion. And then you can start playing with the ideas of it getting to even higher retracements than that, potentially as high as what? The 702. Then the big question comes, all right, what happens after that? Do we start making an ABC structure happening in from here that shows that we're going to do something like this happening in the altcoin market, or we get in one of these bad boys afterwards? And I know everybody wants to say, tell me what's going to happen here, right? Have the big perspective of it all. You just can't right here. I can't right now. And I see all the videos out there, like $1,000 XRP price. It's like, okay, the market cap of the entire cryptocurrency market would have to go firing off into absolute la-la land. Maybe that's what's happening, right? Maybe that's what's happening next. But as for in the short-term things that we're having to fight through first, the first big monumental one is getting back through here Then after that, it's about retracement levels and what can happen at the retracement levels. So I'm optimistic right now because of the structures that we have going on in here and the fact that this appears to be like final capitulation, shorts closing, final capitulation. Next up, we really just need one more little break happening in here of where we're at right now to say that we're not stuck underneath a resistance level. So you could see where we're at. We're still there right now. Danger still exists right there for the altcoin market. But if we can get through here, it will appear that a ticket has been bought to $1 trillion. And everyone's welcome to make their own assessment on what they think, but I'll share the things that are going through on my mind. So you guys know I've been looking at Bitcoin dominance, Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance, and I'm studying the structure of it over in here. And this will be kind of one of those things that I think will really impact me on whether or not I think that the altcoin market is going to go rampaging into new all-time highs, or if it's actually going to find problems there at that third range boundary or into the retracement levels, and that we are going off into a much longer bear market in which Bitcoin does swallow a lot of the dominance back. So on right here, we've got the Bitcoin dominance right down here. This is a structure that we've seen before. This is the altcoin market back in 2018, in which we've had similar things happen in here. We kind of have this automatic rally back up, kind of works up with some higher highs, breaks through, and then rolls over, right? That's what we've had happen in here. Automatic rally, some higher highs, breaks through, and then rolls back over, then working its way back up, down, down, A, B, C, A, B, C. Now the question is, if this thing's going to break down. So first of all, we don't even know if it is going to break down, but if it does, right? So like if the Bitcoin dominance starts to really crack itself down and head down in the downward direction like we saw here, and we see this structure emerge in here, where we see a breakdown, and then we really just start seeing capitulation happening in here in the Bitcoin dominance. If we get down in here and we get down in here on the Bitcoin dominance, and Bitcoin's dominance is at like 30% or something, and the altcoin market is back into just a retracement, I'll become full-blown bear because we'll have the confluence of those things already happening. We'll have what happens when you've already completed full-blown capitulation and that it's over and that Bitcoin dominance can work its way back up. And what time periods is it that Bitcoin dominance works its way back up? It happens during extremely long, prolonged bear markets. But if we're working our way back up for the altcoin market and for Bitcoin, and this dominance just stays here and it still doesn't break down yet, then I'd be thinking to myself, well, this Bitcoin dominance still hasn't broken down yet. We're missing an element still in here. And there's still this chance that we are going to see the altcoin market break off into new all-time highs. But if the dominance already goes through its full-blown breakdown, like we have happen in here, and that whole breakdown happens as the altcoin market does something like that, it would be a hard argument to make to say that we're going to go much higher. We'd have to see something very different happen in this market that we haven't seen before, to where like the Bitcoin dominance just like really breaks down. And that's of course always possible, but whenever I'm looking at things, I'm trying to find confluences within the markets of how this market has behaved previously. So that'll be the big thing I'm watching. If the altcoin market can get through, if it does get through this area in here and does work its way back up, it'll be watching this to see if this thing starts to really break down. If this thing really breaks down in here and it looks like it's completed capitulation like this, as we're getting back in here, be a pretty good telltale sign of what we've seen before, that maybe a bigger bear market is really on its way to where we actually see the Bitcoin dominance kind of recover quite a bit. But we're not there, but I thought I'd talk about that right now because that's something that I will be watching as we're sitting here talking about what's going on with the altcoin market and if it's going to get a retrace back or if it's going to get more than a retrace, if it can even get through this level right in here. What will be things that I'll be looking at to also help my conviction one way or the other. And one of them would be if we saw the capitulation actually end up happening in here for the Bitcoin dominance. And it did capitulate down in here at the same time as this all occurred. That would be another one in the favor where I'd be leaning more towards, hey, this was just a retracement. Man, you could tell I've drawn this line way too many times in my life back to the 702. But that would probably be it. But time will tell. We'll wait to get there. I like to try to lay the groundwork ahead of time on the thought processes that I go through. So when I eventually talk about them, it's not a surprise. But the first step that we need to get through is getting through this resistance level right in here. However, things do look very similar to what happens in phases of where this is shorts closing, final capitulation, slow and steady grind out of here till finally it gets a little more parabolic at the end. And that's when everybody kind of says, wait a minute, that was the bottom. And then the question comes, well, is it just a retracement at that time? And we'll address it when it gets there, if we can get through here. But as we head into this week, that's what I'm hoping to see. One more step a little bit higher. That way we get through all of that. But we have a lot of classic hallmarks of what bottoms have looked like, bouncing off of that 200-week moving average for the altcoin market and being right back there at that all-time high, not closing any wicks or any candles below the all-time high or even below the wick of the all-time high, still be able to maintain those daily or those weekly candle closes on top of it. And one of the real interesting things about getting there was just how, fear was max, right? And so, it's hard to say it was just price action fear. A lot of it was, but we also had a lot of events in crypto that happened at the same time. Luna, UST, and Celsius, Three Arrows Capital, Voyager Digital. And I think one of the other things that's discounted and not given enough credit that scared the market as well is everything that went on with Coinbase, with them kind of making it seem like, hey, if we go bankrupt, we get to keep all of your crypto. That scared a lot of retail. That really scared a lot of retail out of this market and said, you know what, I don't even want to participate anymore with this, because Coinbase is the main place that retail investors go to in the United States, or for newcomers to the market to go to. They say, you know what, get all my money out of here. They don't have wallets. They don't have cold storage. They just log on to Coinbase, buy their assets, keep it on there. Then they said, you know what, forget this, I'm out. I don't think that was given enough credit of how much that scared the market, what Coinbase did there. So I don't think it was just price action that scared the market. There were so many events that happened in there, but a lot of hallmarks of capitulation, a lot of hallmarks of sentiment in the market, of even participants who are still here, who still think that prices are going to go much lower. And one of the things we haven't looked at in a little while on this channel has been the fear and greed index, which today is at a 33. Yesterday was at a 39. In that we spent a long time down here in the basement, in the gutter, on extreme fear, and that we've been crawling our way out of there. And you can see how high this fear and greed index has got it in here. There's only been 2 other times in history where the fear and greed index got down this low and stayed this deep down here in the extreme fear. And that was back here after C19, and that was back here in November and December of 2018. Both of these time periods marked the bottom. The only other time where we were remotely close to this would be like May, June, and July of last year, where we actually did stay a little bit higher. But even once we did finally bounce out of here, it marked the bottom. And as we can see, we spent an extended amount of time in extreme fear for over 70 days, maybe closer to 65, and we have now gotten our way out of here. That's the longest amount of time we have ever spent in extreme fear in the history of this sentiment checker. And each time it got its way out, after an extended period of time, the bottom was in. So interesting to see that we had that happen there, with everything appearing like shorts closing, then the final flush. So this week, trying to see if we can work our way right back through here, the breakdown level that all took place in here, get our way through there. Seems like our odds increase a whole lot more to heading to the upside. Otherwise, we're in the thick of a battle right now, as we're right underneath the daily candle closes right in here of where the breakdown took place. The positive thing is we've seen several assets who have already been able to do it, such as Ethereum Classic, Uniswap, Matic, and Numeraire already get through. But we all know the ones that really matter out there are the big boys, such as Ethereum and Bitcoin and Binance Coin and XRP, which are the top 4 cryptocurrencies here in the cryptocurrency market. They represent the top 6. 2 of these are stable coins, but when it comes to cryptos, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Binance Coin, XRP, they're all still fighting right underneath that price level, waiting for that breakout to come. So that's the big fight this week. So to summarize it all, we see the altcoin market still battling back here near the all-time high region, like we saw back in 2017 and 16. We're still fighting to get back through this breakdown level of what appears to have been the shorts closing and the final capitulation, as we typically see before retracements can come in. Our corrective structure is very similar to that of those of which occur shortly after breaking out into new all-time highs, as that same correction was the one that happened for Bitcoin here back in 2017 after breaking out into the all-time high, and it was also Ethereum's. But one of the interesting factors on determining whether or not it seems we're going to go off into some rampaging run for the altcoin market, if it does end up breaking through that resistance level to go off into a big run, seems like it could be answered by what the Bitcoin dominance does, and if the Bitcoin dominance ends up collapsing into an actual retracement. So right now, the market's trying to decide, is this just a backtest of the all-time high to lead on to a massive run coming for the market, or is it just going to be a retrace? We'll be able to start figuring that out and trying to solve the puzzle once we can at least get ourselves through here to show that we're not rejecting after just a simple backtest. So, big week ahead. The best thing to see would be a move up a little bit higher to rule out that as being a backtest. But one thing that definitely has me intrigued is that the crypto fear and greed index has popped out of extreme fear after a prolonged time period And every time that happened, that marked at least the local bottom. So that's the big fight this week to see if we can get through the level we're at right now. If we do get through it, it'll be about keeping eyes over there on the Bitcoin dominance for me, at least, to see, are we just doing a retrace or is there more to this move? But first things first, we've got to get through where we're at right now. We've got to see a clear break to the upside. So that's what I'll be watching this week over there on the altcoin market cap. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get it. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and start wrapping this thing up. You guys can follow me over here on Twitter at BCBacker. I do get asked all the time, what type of charting software am I using to make my YouTube videos? And I do use TradingView. Most of you are aware of TradingView, but they do have an affiliate link down here. I put it in the description of my video where you can get up to $30 off your subscription when you use this affiliate link down here. I do use a pro plan. I do use a paid plan. That way I can have more indicators and more tools set up in there. They do offer free plans in there. It's going to have ads on it. It's going to let you do a couple of different things. But if you have a paid plan, which it's up to anybody if they want to have that or not, it lets you do more indicators and more things and more tools. So there's an affiliate link to TradingView down here in the description of this video to get up to $30 off a subscription. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to try to be more topic specific in my videos this week. I've realized over the last several weeks, it's just been like massively jumping around. We're going from macro, we're going from stocks, we're going to altcoin market, we're going to Bitcoin, we're going all over the place this week. I might end up putting more videos out this week, but I'm going to try to be more topic specific. So this one was primarily focused on the altcoin market. We did touch topics on Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance, but it was an altcoin market video. Try to make that more specific for you guys for the rest of this week and see if you like that more. If you like it more like that, let me know, comment below. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys in the next one. I want to thank you so much for watching my channel. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.